Wesley Dodds, The Sandman, Issue 1, Robert Venditti, and Riley Rosmo on art. This is the first of these Golden Age character series that have been launching, kind of loosely tying into JSA. And I was down for a Wesley Dodds Sandman book. That sounded like a fun time. However, I did shudder a little bit at the sight of the artist's name. And I guess that's something we're going to talk about. So, you did read this, right?
Unfortunately.
The misery is already coming out.
Oh, look, you haven't had to read anywhere near as much shitty Rosmo as I have.
To be fair, I don't think this is as bad as some of the stuff from him that I've really... Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, it helps that when he's got the mask on, the Sandman mask looks fine. You know, the gas mask and the hat.
He can't make it look like he's got a stupid long face. Yeah. Stupid round face.
I don't think all of the faces look too bad in this compared to what they can for Rosmo typically. It's still not really to my taste as much, but I mean, what did you think of the story though? Did you like the story it told?
Honestly, it's just fine. I don't think there is that much story here right now. I don't think it's a particularly exciting issue 1. It's not bad. I want to make that very clear. I don't think it's a bad story or anything. But it is very much an introduction, and it's quite a slow introduction at that.
I think I appreciate that actually. Which is not to say that I I don't love Rosmo's art, right? I flat out dislike it when he's at his worst, and I think there's moments in this where the faces go a bit Rosmo, but it's never what that Martian Manhunter book that he did. Like I hated the art in that book.
I did forget because obviously I scanned the preview last time. Just because I flicked past it.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten how much the guy at the start looks like Nixon with a Tommy gun for no reason.
I think I will say this: his backgrounds here I do quite like, and I think fit the Golden Age time period quite well. You know, the house, the locations. It's the people of his art that I don't like, but the backgrounds are fine for me. I think the introduction makes sense to me because Wesley Dodds is not as much of a well-known character as a lot of DC characters, right? He's even though I like him from JSA, like, or I like Sand from JSA. Wesley Dodds himself, I don't really have read that much of, if really any. To
most
be honest.
People, I think.
So I kind of appreciate the introduction of he's trying to pitch the military this gas that's non-lethal that'll like stop fights. But the general or whoever this is, the major, is like, don't be preposterous. What are we going to do with all those unconscious like men after we've like won the battle?
Because this is right near the start of World War II. Right?
I think it's during it because they mentioned all the fighting going on.
But I don't think it's like that far into it.
It's before US got involved, is what you're saying. I think.
Yeah, it must be.
Yeah. It probably says at the start what the year is, to be honest.
I mean, summer 1940.
There you go. So so the war started, but it's before the US have got involved.
Yeah.
So and he's like, and to be fair, like as much as this comes across as like the evil military man not wanting,
kind of has a point.
Yeah, he doesn't want to do it comes across initially as he just doesn't want to do the pacifist thing, but he does have a point. Is what do you do with all of these unconscious, soldiers from the enemy when you win the fight? Like, do you build a fence around them? Do you go through and take all their weapons away? Like, there's a lot of logistics here that are actually quite good points.
Yeah, like, as horrific as it is to say, well, it's easier to kill them, kind of is easier to kill them.
Don't get me wrong, though. Don't get me wrong. I think the response should be, there's all these logistics problems, so we have to start thinking about that, because obviously we should take the non-lethal option. That should, like, despite me saying he's got some good points, the non-lethal option should still be what they want to do and what they want to work towards. But he does have some good points about why there's, things to solve.
And I think there's a fair point from the general side of things of, we're kind of already at war. It's a bit late now. Like, we don't have time to start thinking about these logistics now the war's already going. This is something you need to have in place as a long-term plan, right? Whereas right now, people are dying, and if we don't send people with guns in, they might win. Right? I can definitely understand his side of this, and I think even Rosmo's art kind of shades him as so villainous, like the way he's there bathed in the shadow, and just his teeth grinning. Like it looks so evil and sinister.
But to be fair, like his final lines on the subject do get more villainous, where he's like, maiming and killing is simpler and cheaper. Lethal is what we do. Like, he is veering into the military man who just likes killing people.
He is, but no one, like you say, he can be like, we should be thinking about these logistics. But Dodds doesn't argue that back. There is no suggestion of that. It's just I guess so.
I mean, that's the thing, is like, he doesn't give him a chance to really suggest anything. He just immediately, he's like, this is over. When he tries to say something else, he's like, oh no, we're done here. I've got another meeting to go to. Go away. And this obviously bums Wesley out. And it's this idea that he wanted to like do something good for the world that wasn't just being this vigilante. And I think he's quite a Batman-y character, and he's not a mansion, but it's a big house. He's got a butler who helps him with everything he does. And I guess the difference is that he's got a girlfriend who knows who he is. And she's even like, hey, like, I'm excited that you're going to contribute something as Wesley Dodds and not as the other guy. And I thought, okay, that's quite interesting. That's an interesting dynamic, especially in this pulpier time period that we're dealing with. But he's kind of bummed out at this party they all go to. He's like, I'm not really in the mood to be around someone's all this success right now. So he goes home, or actually doesn't go home. He goes to the car and gets out his Sandman outfit to go and just sort of let off some steam as a vigilante, which it does raise some health, or some, is that healthy mentally to be going out and beating like criminals up when you're in a bad mood? I don't know.
Probably not, but I bet it feels good.
It probably does feel great. Because he even says in his narration, because the book opens with him narrating and saying, I need to get away from this dark lifestyle. I need to do something good that isn't with this. And then at the end of the book, after he's failed to like sell this tech to the military, he's like, maybe this is where I belong, in the streets fighting the scum. Like, he changes his tune quite significantly. As all this stuff towards the end is playing out, though, there's these panels of someone going through his basement and finding his Sandman stuff, but more importantly, finding his book that's got all of his formula in there. And he mentioned earlier on in the book that all of his ideas here, like when he started like developing his gas that he uses as a vigilante, and as he's been developing things until he's got into this non-lethal stuff, is that just by the nature of going through all the different options and all the different like variables, is that he's effectively invented a lot of really bad things that could be absolutely monstrous if anyone ever gets their hands on them. And the end of the issue,
maybe he should have burned those himself to begin with.
He probably should have just burned the notebook so no one could find them, because some nefarious thief has found this book and has set his home on fire, and that's the big final cliffhanger of the issue. It's him running home to his dad's house that his dad gave him when he died.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I mostly like the story. I like the slower introduction. I appreciate that it presents us with this character who's trying to get out of this life and thinks that there's a better way of contributing. So even though there's some comparisons with Batman, it feels like there's some just direct things that he's doing that are a little bit different. I appreciate all that stuff. The art is the biggest negative for me.
I said the story is fine. I don't think it's an amazing story in this issue. I think you could. This could definitely build into an amazing story over 6 issues. Absolutely. But right here in this issue, it's fine. I think if you give me this story with a really good artist that I like, I'm probably a lot more invested in it than I am right now.
I think that's fair.
This is a fine story told by, in my opinion, a bad artist, or at least an artist that I dislike.
Yeah.
So it makes it harder to enjoy.
It definitely was a bit of a hurdle as I was reading it, but I was enjoying learning more about the character and the direction the story's like taken us in, at least so far. I think I'm down to read issue 2. I think I want to see where the story goes. It's the sort of thing where I agree, if the art was someone I liked, or even, obviously the dream is like an amazing artist every time. You're always going to want that. But, even if it was like a house style artist, I'd probably like it a little bit more. Yeah. The dream, of course, though, is someone even better than that. Like, give me, I don't know, like,
I think who would I like doing this, like this 1940s
Francavilla.
Kind of... Oh man, if this was Francavilla, this would be like the best book this week. Because the thing, it's all well and good saying, the writing, the art, like, it's comics. They're very heavily intertwined. The way the story is presented even with the writing, being written by someone else, it is the artist doing that heavy lifting, and the way that it's presented to us, and the way you consume it.
Yeah, I think part of the appeal here is because it is a character I've not really read much about before. I'm enjoying the just discovering, okay, this is what a story about this character in his prime is. Like, because, much like I was saying about World's Finest Teen Titans, and seeing that time period of their existence being told in a modern style, I kind of feel that same way about learning about Wesley Dodds and seeing a story told about him. And I think that's doing a bit of helping here. Like, I think if this was like, oh, I'd already read like a few Wesley Dodds stories over the past few years, this would be less appealing. But I think as it is, like, I'm enjoying.
I get that. I think honestly, this makes me more interested to go and read Sandman Mystery Theater than it does to read the rest of this, because at least that looks more to my tastes from what I've seen of it.
And that's the only big Wesley Dodds run,
it is,
right?
But it is like 70 odd issues.
Yeah, but it's like he's got that one prestigious run and then nothing else really. I'm sure there's some Golden Age comics that he's in, but like I don't think there's.
That's the big one. Yeah, that's the main thing. And obviously I'd want more, in the same way that you were getting these, the Jay Garrick and the Alan Scott books coming out. I'm glad there's more of these characters, especially in a modern context.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm really happy about that, and yeah, I hope I'm still into the overall ideas come next issue. But the art does obviously drag it down a bit. But I like what it's doing with the character. I'm enjoying learning about him, at least. That's something. So, what are you rating Wesley Dodds, the Sandman issue 1?
I'm probably going to give it a 5, and that sounds really harsh, but like for me, it was just an okay book with a artist I didn't enjoy. So honestly, the fact that it's a 5 with Rosmo art is probably quite high for me.
Yeah, I'm a little conflicted on what to rate this, because the writing alone, if I'm just enjoying the story, it's probably like a 7.5 thereabouts. But obviously, I don't really like Rosmo art that much. I mean, this is definitely not anywhere near the worst of what I've seen of him, though, or to my taste.
I would agree with that as well, to be fair.
So I think I'll probably average it out about a 6, I think. But I think it's an interesting 6, and as long as it's not such a busy week, and given that it's probably going to be similar to this week next month, I imagine I'll be quite happy to read issue 2, and hopefully by that point I'll be more invested, and it'll be more bulletproof from being dropped, if you will, from busier weeks, because I'll just be into it at that point. But I'm definitely down to read another issue at least.